Hi again, everybody, and welcome back, Roxanne, and continuing into the next session there as one of our panel representatives. For those who weren't in my session earlier, I'm Dr. Corinne Bars, and I'm the head of the Academic Centres Division at ICE, and I'm hosting a panel today with some of our academic colleagues. And we are going to do a sort of Q&A, some questions that we have that we know are common questions that our students and applicants like to know about, and also picking up some questions from yourselves. So if you have a question, drop it into the Q&A box and we'll try and pick up on those. But in the first instance, I'm going to go around and ask my colleagues to introduce themselves, to your name and your role and the courses that you're representing. And then also, I think, to start with what you enjoy teaching, why you enjoy teaching at ICE. Roxanne, do you want to go first?
Sure, and it was a pleasure to already be on. My name is Dr. Roxanne Farman-Farmayan, and I am Academic Director of the International Studies and Global Politics section. And as Victoria clearly pointed out, we do the certificate and the IR, but the pathway continues. We also do an advanced certificate diploma that can be 1 year or it can be 2 year. And it also covers quite a bit of international development for those that are interested in pursuing that particular direction. And I love the whole process at ICE because I am a strong believer in continuing education. I have myself pursued later education, and it has made all the difference in my own life. And so I really understand where students are coming from, and I find it very exciting that there's such a wide range of the demographic as well.
Thanks, Roxanne. Alex, do you want to go next?
Thanks, Corinne. I'm Dr. Alex Carter. I'm Academic Director for Philosophy and Interdisciplinary Studies. I oversee the undergraduate and postgraduate certificates in philosophy, as well as the undergraduate diploma in creativity, theory, history, and philosophy, as well as the advanced diplomas in research. So the philosophy courses are taught straightforward philosophy courses. The creativity diploma, though, might need a little bit of explaining because that's where we would accept students from multiple different backgrounds. So if you have done psychology or sociology or history or art history or sociology or philosophy, you could go into that course. And indeed, we get quite a few creative writers as well doing the diploma in creativity theory. And the advanced diplomas, as Roxanne was saying, pick up almost anything we'd like to research. And what I love about teaching at ICE is I get to teach all those different courses. I engage with students on so many different projects. It's interdisciplinary, it's applied, and it's always problem-centered, and students want to know about things. They want to be able to apply the knowledge. It's not just, I need to know this for a test. It's, I want to know this because I need to use this. And every year is different because our students are different each year. So I'm half of an equation, and then you bring the other half, and then what comes out of that is always a surprise for everyone. So it's kind of nice.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alex. Lydia?
Hi, I'm Lydia Hamlet, and I'm the Academic Director for History of Art and Visual Culture courses. We run a number of courses from the entry-level level 4 certificate, the diploma. We also have a History of Art strand on Alex's advanced diploma. And as of this year, we also have an MST postgraduate course in History of Art and Visual Culture. I absolutely love teaching at ICE because I love our students. Not only do we have really, and especially since we went online, such a sort of diverse body of students at different ages and different stages, but also because how passionate they are about the subject and how much they really want to learn how to become an art historian.
Thanks, Lydia. And Jill?
Thanks, Corinne. I'm Dr. Jill Stevens. I'm the Academic Director for Coaching, and I'm here kind of representing the undergraduate courses. So we have an undergraduate certificate in coaching and the undergraduate diploma in coaching. We've just developed the pathway into the postgraduate offering, and we're launching the MST in coaching this year, which is really exciting. What I love about being part of ICE, and particularly in the coaching domain, is that it's just so nice to be able to work with the next generation of coaches. You know, as a professional coach myself, it's lovely to see different people entering, the profession, the passion they have. And it really just reminds me of why I love coaching as well. And also, just to add, it's the diversity of the students, because now that we're online, we have people, joining us from all parts of the globe, and that really does enrich the learning experience. Fantastic.
Thanks, Jill. So, I mean, there's lots of things we could talk about, and we don't have lots of time, but I wanted to, we talk about education being transformative, and we certainly see this on our courses where students join us and things really change for them. And I just wanted to read out a couple of student quotes that I think demonstrate this. And the first student says, "The diploma and being part of ICE has completely changed my life, and this is no exaggeration. I've become more thoughtful and confident as a result of the course and made friends." And the second student says, "This was a fantastic course and allowed me to develop professionally in multiple domains." And I think they really illustrate some of the change we see. But I wondered at course level, how do you see this transformation in your classes? And Lydia, maybe we'll come to you first on this one.
Yeah, I mean, really, in two, I suppose, really important ways. One is obviously we're sort of empowering our students how to become art historians, so how to progress in the discipline. And at the end of the day, that sort of fundamental thing that you're learning in art history is how to look at things differently. So what we want students to do is leave us looking at everything around them differently from how they arrived, which sounds like a very big thing, but it is transformative when you start doing that. So that's the first thing. The other thing is the social aspect. I see every week in our live seminars, not only are students describing paintings and art objects to everybody else in the cohort and giving them, and even me and the other tutors who are experts in the subject, new ideas about artworks, but also seeing them gel with other students and develop their relationships, to the extent that many of our students arrange trips to art galleries and things like that together outside of the course.
Thank you. And Jill?
Well, coaching really is a transformative process. I mean, at the heart of coaching is change. People engage in coaching because they might be at a crossroads of their life, or they want to change something about, what they're doing or what they're experiencing. And we sometimes hear from students, as Corinne has already said, that they thought that they were signing up to learn about coaching, but actually they come away saying, I learned so much about myself in terms of becoming more self-aware, actually going through a phase of personal development. So I think, the transformative experience is actually the real thing that we see in the classroom. And I think that, that for me as a tutor is just one of the wonderful things to be involved with coaching.
Thank you. Roxanne?
I find that one of the most extraordinary things is a course that has brought in students from all over the world becomes a microcosm of the very concept of international relations and global studies that we are covering. So in one of the previous classes, or ongoing classes actually, that we have right now, there's our students from Nigeria, from Hong Kong, from Singapore, from the United States, from a town just down the road from Cambridge, and from Europe. And I think this is one of the things that not only to be together, but to be learning together and to understand the perspective of others that are actually operating under different governmental systems, under very, very different economic situations, the presumptions that they have about how society works. All of this comes to play in the discussions that they have, and the way that the understanding of how the world works then is expressed in every class. So that would be, it is so exciting to see that as a an international group right there dealing with international relations. And I think the other thing that I would like to say that's transformative for all of us is the process of learning to become a good academic writer, because it provides an insight on how to put together an argument and be compelling using the evidence. And this gives students an enormous sense of control over the way that they present their ideas and they feel they can go forth into the next level of the pathway or adapt that to the particularities of their profession. So it really gives them a skill, which I think many come in not expecting. And when they go out, they really have this under their wing.
That's great, thank you. And Alex?
Yeah, I suppose, so philosophy is all about having an open mind and approaching things critically, like Lydia said, seeing things differently from different perspectives. I think what a lot of students think they're going to do coming into philosophy is stop believing the things that they currently believe, which is very rarely the case. You'll very rarely find an argument converts someone from one position to another position. But what I do find that it transforms people around is how sure they are of that belief. So their level of certitude about those sorts of things. At the same time, though, you're building confidence, because once you realize that there are other possibilities, that there are other views to be expressed, you start to respond in this kind of more confident way of presenting your case as something that needs to be presented, that needs to be argued for and defended and so on. So I think that's one thing. And another thing is just the transformation that happens when, you know, for instance, we've had students, I think all of us, who have said to us, this has changed my life because I missed out on university the first time, or there was a problem with my studies the first time round. And this has given me a second chance, but it's given me a second chance at one of the world's leading universities. And this means a lot. This, you know, it can be quite daunting learning philosophy. It can be quite daunting learning philosophy at the University of Cambridge, where Wittgenstein, my own philosopher of choice, lived and died and studied philosophy. And so it can be quite off-putting to some people to think, oh, this is going to be a really big challenge. But then you do it, you move up levels, and you start to find that before you know it, actually, I could probably start applying more generally to study a master's in philosophy. I've had many students who have been shocked to find out that I've been suggesting that they do this, even though they're perfectly capable of doing it. But yeah, they get shocked by that.
Thank you. And some of the students in the student panel previously talked about that imposter syndrome to begin with, and then the confidence to ask the questions in different ways and become more self-confident throughout the process as well. So it's really interesting to hear that from you as well. I'm going to come back to something that you mentioned, Roxanne, and that we know is a question that lots of applicants have, which is around the writing, the academic writing, the assessments. And although lots of people want to take on the study of the subject, there's a nervousness about what that means in terms of academic assessment. So I think it would be useful to hear from your different perspectives how you support students to progress through those assessments towards the end, throughout the course. Alex, do you want to go first on this one?
Sure. I mean, so philosophy is very much a written subject, but it also means reading a lot, and it means reading critically and also writing critically. I support students, one of the Cambridge colleges, in study skills, and I take that same approach here. And in fact, actually, it's really what I've learned working with adult students, perhaps returning to university after 10, 20, 30 years of not having studied and written an academic paper, and bringing them back to that level of being able to argue and think critically. But that's the same for students who are doing that for the first time as well. And in fact, actually, they often struggle more. So it's working with students to articulate a certain style of writing, which is not actually as fixed as we might think, and actually has increasingly become algorithmic. And now we have problems with that, with ChatGPT, you know, writing papers as well as some students do. But I would say that a good paper isn't about following a pattern. It's about finding your style. It's about finding your voice, and it's about making sure that what you're saying is clear to yourself first, and then to the person reading the paper. But I also think that one thing we do at ICE is think creatively about how to do assessment. So it isn't just writing papers. It's thinking about, you know, how would you turn this into a video or a presentation, which we've done in many of our courses. And also, just even when it is writing an essay, how do we go about assessing that? So in the diploma in creativity, for instance, every student is writing a paper every term. They get feedback, but they don't get a grade. They get to implement the feedback, and then at the end of the year, that's when they submit it and they get graded. So there's permission to fail. You can be creative, you can be expansive, you can try your hand at different things. And we are aware that some of you will be coming to those courses without having ever written a philosophy paper before. So we ease you into that process as well. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Lydia, do you want to pick up from history of art perspective?
Yeah, I mean, history of art and visual culture are largely written subjects too, and traditionally they have been assessed through essays, long essays. But in recent years, we have really made an effort to diversify assessment, as Alex said. So we do have a presentation option, a writing up a presentation, and also there are different written formats that we can assess as well, things that are important in history of art. And also, if you want to work in the art world afterwards, or if you want to, for example, write about art for a public audience, or to go into exhibitions and curating. So you might try to write some exhibition labels, for example, wall labels for an exhibition. We have that as part of the optional assessment as well. Visual analysis, so shorter pieces of very focused visual analysis on particular objects or buildings. So it's not just long essays, but all sorts. And we try to help people develop their writing skills by putting drop-in sessions throughout the term, so that you can drop in when you want to and talk to a tutor about the things that you would like to work on improving.
Thank you. Roxanne?
Yes, I think we all overlap somewhat. We likewise have sessions specifically dedicated to the writing process. We have a practice essay that we encourage all students to do so that they can receive feedback from that. And then we start, that begins a process of ongoing feedback, and each essay that a student submits receives feedback, and we also have a feedback checklist, so we can see what has been encouraged to be improved in the past, and we specifically ask a student to point out for us how they've done that improvement in the next essay. So it has a continuity to it, which we've found to be very useful for the students. And so we do have these practice sessions that are, as Lydia says, drop in all the way through the year, and they become very consistent that the students attend. And that way they can not only discuss what they are writing, but very much how their research is contributing to the way that they're going to write the assessment. And we too have a variety of assessments. We used to just do essays, but now we have presentations, we have a blog, we have a series of shorter assessments that might, for example, include book review comparisons and in-depth authors that we encourage people to investigate and then actually do the presentation of. So we encourage different ways for students to be creative.
Great, thank you. And Jill?
Thank you. I mean, I would echo everything that my colleagues have said about the support element, and we, you know, I would reinforce that from the way that we assess our students. You know, there is a lot of help available, and you know, we can point people to the, you know, the particular area, but we also, you know, from the tutor's perspective, we can support whatever it is that the students need. In terms of the assessment, we have three elements to our assessment, really. There is the written academic essay, which forms, you know, part of the process. And as part of that, that academic written essay, there is a reflective part, which allows the students to have their own voice in terms of, you know, what they're learning about coaching. And, you know, that comes through in a very, very deep and meaningful way. The other two aspects of the assessment are that we also observe the students, you know, actually coaching, and we have a framework, a professional association framework that we use, and we give them feedback, developmental feedback on that. And then the last element of the assessment is that students provide a log of the coaching hours that they've done, and again that is reviewed by the tutors, and they receive again developmental feedback on that. So it's an ongoing process. And I would just end by saying that often students say at the end of the course, they actually did like the writing element of the assessment, even though they were a little bit nervous to begin with. So I think that just demonstrates, you know, throwing themselves into it, having a go, learning, by doing, and, they do surprise themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose the other thing to emphasize is there's support within the courses and the support outside of the courses through the VLE and through library resources and additional study skills sessions. And also, if there is a scenario where it isn't successful the first time, that's not the be all and end all. There's an opportunity to revise and resubmit. And so it isn't a sort of cut-off point at that stage. So it's great to hear the variety of assessment that's happening. And I suppose just to encourage people that as you say, you come out the other end proving that you can do different things. We probably, I think this is a question that we are asked now quite often. These courses, the undergraduate courses, run entirely online. I suppose it would be helpful and useful to hear from you the benefits you think to your cohorts of that mode of delivery, a mode of engagement for students. If you could provide some comments on that. Lydia, do you want to go ahead?
I think the main one is flexibility. It allows many different types of people to join our classes and to share their enthusiasm for the subject. So I'll keep that answer really short.
Yeah, fine, absolutely. And Jill?
Well, yes, again, I'd echo what Lydia said about the opportunity for a diverse group of students to join the cohort. But equally for us, because coaching now is predominantly done online, so students actually get to practice coaching for real, because that's what they're going to be doing when they're meeting their clients and their coachees.
Yeah, fantastic, thank you. Alex?
I'm quite a champion of being able to record lectures and then students can play them back, not least because some ideas in philosophy are particularly difficult. And one thing that's really good for us as teachers is sometimes we can see which areas in a lecture students are watching over and over again. And that tells us maybe we should do a whole lecture on that little bit as well, so that it informs the teaching going forwards as well. But also things like captioning, this is really helpful, and being able to go back, a couple of terms perhaps and look at lectures that you were receiving in the Michaelmas term when you think, oh, actually that's still relevant to something I'm doing in the Easter term. So there is a lot of value in that. And even with the courses we teach in person, the postgraduate courses, we still use recorded lectures, we still use online seminars. We just also have the in-person, but it feels very much like a similar course. It feels very much like the same sort of course.
Yeah.
Less cheesecake though.
Thanks, Alex. Roxanne?
Well, I think particularly for ours, it means that people from around the world who really wouldn't come to Cambridge are able to take our courses. We did in the past, when it wasn't all online, attract some people that had to travel a long way, but certainly not the variety now, and those that are from many different backgrounds. So I think that has truly enriched the class, not only for those attending, but in terms of the kind of, yes, recorded, because we record also the seminars, which is, really interesting for people to see then what others have been able to say. And talking of seminars, they are provided live online, if you will, versus recorded. So it is really a hybrid. And I feel as though the students get to know each other very well, and we get to know them. So it's actually combining all the benefits of in-person as well as the recorded.
Yeah, I think there's some really important points in there, and they've come up throughout the day. It's the accessibility. And, students saying to us, the sustainability of not having to travel, the convenience of not having to travel to attend, to be able to watch a lecture while you're also making the breakfast and other things, and in and out of work or on the bus, listening to things again, and being able to access the content as and when is convenient around and in between the synchronous sessions is hugely valuable. And there's lots of feedback through the student surveys about the feeling part of a global community and the richness that brings to those cohorts and discussions and focus on the content as well.
But if I could say just one last thing on that, we always encourage our students to come to Cambridge and visit because you are Cambridge students. And so it's a beautiful place and it is yours once you've been on our courses.
Yeah, absolutely. We only have a few minutes left, which seems to have gone very quickly. So I'm not going to frame a question to ask you, but just to go around really and see if there's any final comments that you would like to make. Is there anything that hasn't been asked that you would really like to say to potential applicants about your courses? Roxanne, I don't know if you want to start.
Very briefly, I think one of the things that really seems to work very well is the pathway aspect. So we find that students will start with the certificate, not with a very clear idea even what international relations is about. Many don't realize it's got theories and structures to it, and may find that, in thinking about that until they're actually in the course, that it's a little bit technical, or they feel a little overwhelmed by the fact that it's not just all about, understanding a terrorist activity down the road. And so it comes to provide a mechanism by which they get extremely enthusiastic about understanding some of the larger forces that are explaining the world. And so they often then choose to go on, and we provide that next step. And the courses are extremely well integrated in terms of moving seamlessly from one level to the next, and then perhaps on to an MST or to a partner subject, such as from ours, it might go into philosophy or it might go into sociology. So we do see students sometimes moving from one of these paths to another because they find it not only overlapping, but very useful for their profession. So the pathway is very key, and I wanted to emphasize that.
That's really important. Thank you, Roxanne. Alex, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I suppose just very quickly, just to say the question I often get asked around this is how does it fit around my life? And I think it's important to arrive at that's what we're set up to do. So if you're wondering, will this fit around my work life, my family life, etc., that if it doesn't, it wouldn't have been working for the last 150 years. We've got a good system now whereby we can be quite flexible. We can make sure that we bring in accommodations to make sure it works around your life. But it does require discipline. It means if you've got a week early in the term, use that time now because you don't know you're going to have that time later. It's about having that kind of foresight. So if you've got good time management, you'll be absolutely fine. If you haven't, we're here to support you in that anyway. So yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you, Alex. Jill?
I'd just like to say that students who join the coaching courses join for various different reasons. It's not necessarily that people want to become a professional coach. We have people who are just interested in what coaching is and how they can use the skills that they learn either in their workplace or in their relationships that they're developing with other people. And I think the other thing is that when we have students who join at the certificate level, they kind of often get hooked into what Roxanne and Alex were saying about the pathway. It's like they really want to go deeper into understanding coaching from a psychological perspective. And yeah, it's just a joy to be around people who have a passion for coaching.
Fantastic, thanks, Jill. And Lydia, we've probably got about 30 seconds if we're sticking to our exact time. So
okay, quickly.
Final thoughts to you.
I was just going to say that at ICE in general, we're not just teaching you a discipline. We are sort of teaching you. We're hoping to empower you to unlock that discipline for yourself. And I think that's what really sets us apart. And in that journey, you are taught by researchers, active researchers as well, and that sharing of that development with the researchers and students and tutors is just makes it all work.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important point. One of the questions that we often get asked is about what makes these courses Cambridge courses and why are these different courses at other institutions. And I think it is that ability to have the latest research, the pool of tutors that we have that draw across the university and other professional contexts, and bringing all those things together to bring the best that we can to help students through. So thank you all for your comments, really, really helpful. And I'll hand back to Corey. or Louisa.
Thanks.
Very
Bye.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone on the panel as well for your responses. We're going to have a quick break until our next session. So we'll be back at 1:50 with a lecture from Jenny Babbage. We'll see you then.